Hello, everybody. My name's Gus. I'm a junior here at Connecticut College. I'm a philosophy and film studies double major. So today I'm here to talk to you about my personal educational experience. It has been a very long ride, and it has been really, really, really rewarding. So when I was young, I was not the same as all the other kids. I had some sort of learning disconnection. I'd be focused. I remember I was in preschool, and this is a story that my family tells me all the time. I was reading a book in class when they dropped me off, and when I picked up, I was reading that same book. I was very focused on certain things, and I was almost in my own world. So my parents were kind of interested in what this meant, or what maybe not wrong with me, but how my brain was working. So I went to a doctor, and this is when we realized that I was diagnosed with epilepsy, social disconnection, sort of fine motor difficulties. So I was still in preschool and elementary school, so they had me have these social groups and these different occupational therapies. And it was good to get that help, but at the same time, I was at an elementary school that was not very accommodating. They, at one point, said, you need to stop leaving for all these therapies because you have to take this standardized test to get ready for middle school. So this is when, as a family, we decided that this school was no longer a suitable option, and we moved to Natick, Massachusetts from Boston to find a different school. This is where I was introduced to a school called the Tobin School. I had a certain viewpoint on what education was. I thought it was this sort of way for me to learn, but also in a very structured and strict environment, because that's what I was taught at the school I was at. So when I went to the school, it was a smaller school, saw kids playing, sort of having fun, doing stuff they wanted to do, but also getting the help they needed. It was actually quite alarming, but alarming in a good way. So I went to the school for a while. I actually graduated middle school there, and I learned a lot of skills, but at the same time, I was experiencing a lot of what I'd call social behavioral shifting, where I would say something that I thought was supposed to be interpreted in a way, and it wasn't interpreted that way, or it would be misinterpreted by the teacher, or they wouldn't understand what I was saying. Sometimes I'd have trouble sort of organizing my thoughts. Like a thought could be so clear in my head, but it would not come out coherently when I was with the speech therapy that I went through as a kid. So then we ran into a little bit of a roadblock when I graduated middle school. We realized that really the only option was either a public school or to search for a different private school to attend. But we realized that public school was really not a good fit because I was still having all these issues with my fine motor skills, speech, and still a lot of social disconnection. So my dad, who was he worked in politics and very interested in education, was sort of formed this idea of a possible school to start that he talked about with family and friends about sort of primary social and emotional learning at the same level as academics. So this idea that he formed for many years and was suddenly able to start a school. And I remember when he first told me, I was very confused because I had this fixed mindset on what education was. I thought it was, you hated it, you went there, you went home, did that over and over again until you graduated. So when he told me this idea about enjoying school, I didn't get it. I didn't understand it, but I went to the school, and it was really amazing what we were able to do. We were able to create an environment where not only would we focus on academics, but we would also focus on furthering as people. I think far too many people in the education system are looked at as products, are looked at as people that need to do this to graduate. You need to learn this to graduate, but we're not really focused on the social and emotional side of what we're doing. We don't know why we're doing it, we just know that we are doing it. So I went through the school experience, and it learned me to be positive about what I was experiencing. I always, in public school, thought I was like an outcast, or sort of, because my brain just operated on a different level than all these other kids. So when I was able to go to Tremont, and when I was having a problem, they would ask me why. Why are you struggling with this? Instead of, don't do it again. Like, why are you experiencing this? How does this make you feel? And that's a weird question for a kid who's like 12 or 13 to be asked, because they're like, I don't know, leave me alone. So I went through this school. It was great. I was able to further my social and emotional learning to a level I didn't even think was possible. And this is the thing about schooling, when you have the social and emotional learning possibility. When you look at yourself as a person that can be developed, you realize that the sky is the limit when it comes to your academic achievement. You look at yourself as, what do I want to do, instead of what do I have to do? So I realized at a very young age, I wanted to be a filmmaker. I wanted to tell stories, because they asked, I had so much personal and emotional reflection, I learned my interest in telling stories. So this is when I sort of moved on to my latter part of my academic and sort of emotional development. I switched high schools, because while I loved this Tremont school, I needed to further my independence and be in a more traditional high school environment. So I went to a high school with a traditional schedule, with grades, not the level of emotional and social oversight that Tremont had when I was younger. So this gave me the opportunity to look at my condition and say, this is what I've learned, this is how far I've come. Let me use all this stuff I've learned and experienced and turn it into something good and impactful. So I went to this school called Chapel Hill Chauncey Hall. I had a fairly successful experience there. It took me a while to transition, but then I realized that when you're in a certain environment that really focuses on the social and emotional learning, and you never leave that environment, true growth is sometimes hard to grasp. It's sometimes difficult to truly understand where that growth is going and where it's come from. So in a traditional high school environment, I was able to experience that growth and realize that growth as real. So after I went through high school, this is where I stopped thinking about the now, and I started thinking about the future. I started thinking about, hey, I don't have much high school left. What do I want to do? I knew that I wanted to be a filmmaker, but I didn't know how that was possible. So that's when I started my college experience and my college sort of growth and journey to find where I wanted to go. And that's when I found Connecticut College. I looked at about 8 different schools, and Connecticut College, I don't know. I remember telling my parents, and my guidance counselor is like, I can't tell you why I want to go here. I just tell you that this is where I want to go. It's like it was a sort of a gut feeling. It's the same gut feeling that has propelled me to make all the decisions I have in my life. So that's where I end up here, entering into a really, I could have gone to schools like Ithaca or Skidmore or all these different schools, Union, that had more established film departments. But I don't know, the community and small feeling of Con, it just felt like the right choice. So then I ended up in college, and I'm able to further my academic career as a filmmaker, further my understanding of film as a concept, and further my understanding of film as a practice. And I realized not only being appreciative of what I've gained, but also being appreciative of what I learned. I think it's very easy for people to hate school, hate academics. Say, I'd rather be doing something else. I hate it here. I don't want to do it. And while there are definitely flaws in the academic system, one thing I learned from reflection is realizing the gift of living in your present moment. Living in this sort of moment of, I realize what this is doing for me. I may hate being here right now, but I know that in the future I'll look back fondly if I enjoy it and take every day in the present moment. So when thinking about this talk and thinking about experience at Con, I could have given you numbers or statistics or specific stories about my condition and but I didn't want that to be the focus of this talk. I wanted it to be applicable to everyone's current life situation. I think that is the best thing about TED Talks. You get inspired, you look at them, you apply them to your current life. So what this situation and my condition and sort of my struggles have taught me is the importance of a positive mindset and the importance of understanding the positive aspects of whatever you're doing. I understand that I may have not loved every minute of school, but I understand the purpose it had on my overall growth and development. So when listening to this talk, what I want you guys to take from it is, no matter how you're feeling about your life, how you're feeling about your education, how much you hate a class, how much you hate a grade, it's important to try and take it with a positive mindset and say, hey, this didn't go well, what's next? Because what I've noticed is dwelling on the past, like saying, I wish I didn't have social disconnection, I wish I never got diagnosed with epilepsy, it's no good, doesn't matter. Saying what if, it's nothing, it will cause nothing but losing what you're experiencing now. So when thinking back at this talk, the one thing I guys want you to take from this is realize that whatever happened in the past is fundamental to becoming who you are today. And if you think that a moment sucked, or a day was terrible, or a grade was bad, or a professor is annoying, think of it as a way to further yourself. So I know it's so easy to be negative. It's so easy to have that negative mindset and sort of complain, but I guarantee you, if you stay positive and focus on what is good and what has changed for the better, you will be much happier and you will live a much more meaningful life. Thank you.